and welcome to a special edition of the Gariwerd Trail Running Podcast. This episode is a recording of a live panel discussion that we held on the Wonderland Run weekend in Halls Gap at the end of August 2025. It was a really great opportunity to raise awareness around safety of women and gender diverse runners. The panel was hosted by myself, Kelly Boladaris from Gariwerd Trail Running. I was joined by Mark, one of our regular pod co-hosts, Emma, a local runner and her trails maven, and Jay, Gariwerd regular, and also she appeared on episode 4 of this podcast. Together we talked about our differing experiences and we offered advice on what we can do to ensure everyone's able to enjoy a sense of safety and freedom on the trails. The backing music for this ep was supplied by local band Dirty Country. You can follow them on Facebook or Instagram. Thanks, and I hope you enjoy this panel discussion held at Wonderland Run 2025. Hi everyone, welcome. Thanks for joining us tonight. My name's Kelly Boladaris and I'm a member of Gariwerd Trail Running, which I'll talk a little bit about in a minute. I'm going to hand over to Mark, who's going to do an acknowledgement of country for us.
Yeah, thanks, Kel. Welcome everyone. We'll just start by acknowledging the Djapurrung and the Djadwurrjali as the traditional custodians of this land in which we're meeting today, and I'd like to pay my respects to elders past and present, but also recognise this is a pretty magical place, Gariwerd, and I really want to recognise their custodianship over this mountain range and this place for millennia. And for those who are lucky enough to be running over the next couple of days, really encourage you to just really try and take in the presence of connecting to place that you do feel here. You don't get it many places in Victoria, so really encourage people to absorb this special place. So thanks, Kel.
Thanks, Mark. So as I mentioned with Gariwerd Trail Running, so we're a group of pretty welcoming locals who we've got a passion for trail running, obviously, and a drive to make a positive impact in that area. We try and connect local and visiting trail runners to the beautiful trails we have in the Gariwerd landscape, and we do that through offering safe, inclusive, weekly group run options. Gariwerd Trail Running, we've recently joined the Core Alliance with Women's Health Grampians, so that's the Communities of Respect and Equality, and that basically means that we're committed to promoting gender equality as a group and taking action to reduce gender-based violence, which strongly aligns with our values in the group. So we try and offer an inclusive and respectful space for trail runners of all genders, abilities and backgrounds. Just on that note, yesterday was Wear It Purple Day, which celebrates diversity and young people from the LGBTIQA+ community. So just want to acknowledge that as well. I'd also, on that note, like to thank Women's Health Grampians for supporting this event, and also Absolute Outdoors and Adelaide Trail Running, who are running the Wonderland Run event this weekend. And I'd like to just provide a little bit of a trigger warning that tonight's discussion will include references to gender-based violence. So if anyone you know is experiencing that, then there are a range of contacts and support materials just at the entry there. So there's some pretty confronting stats out there around women and running. There was a Adidas survey in 2023 of about 9,000 women, and 92% of those women reported that they felt unsafe while running, and over 50% were fearful of an actual physical attack. And experiences of harassment that they had basically meant that 46% of women seriously considered not running anymore, which is really, really sad. Another thing that was sort of viral last year, there was a TikTok video about surveying women on the street. Would you rather, if you were alone in the forest, would you rather encounter a man or a bear? And most women said that they would rather see a bear than a man. So it kind of sets the scene for the conversation that we want to have tonight. And we really want to show that this isn't and shouldn't be considered a women's issue. This discussion that we're having as well, I'll just let you know, it'll be recorded for the Gariwerd Trail Running podcast. So please tell your friends. If there's anyone that couldn't make it here tonight, please share that widely after this. So I'm going to start by introducing our wonderful panel. First, we've got Emma Mackley, just to my right. Emma is a Gariwerd Her Trails maven, and she's a passionate mental health advocate who champions the connection between movement, nature, and emotional well-being. And as a maven, Emma creates inclusive spaces for women to connect, grow, and explore. Emma's also a proud Mo sister. So she's part of a team who coordinates the annual Halls Gap Flano 5K Movember event. And through trail running, Emma's found a powerful sense of mindfulness and community and purpose. We also have Mark White on the couch with me. Mark's also a member of Gariwerd Trail Running, and Mark advocates for and promotes the health benefits of trail running to the wider community, and he supports increased participation so others can also enjoy hitting these wonderful trails. Mark's passion for trail running stems from the beauty and the simplicity of running in nature. So for Mark, Gariwerd's rugged sandstone escarpments and subalpine plateaus, and the unique flora and fauna that we have here, and the rich cultural landscape, which is shaped by the enduring custodianship of the Jardwajali and the Jabberung peoples, offer a really deep connection to place. We've also got Jay Baker joining us. Jay is a passionate ultra trail runner who's spent a lifetime exploring trails and testing her limits. For the past decade, Jay has completed in every major trail event in Gariwerd, forging a really deep and lasting connection with this land. In May this year, Jay completed one of the toughest endurance races in the world, which is a 520-kilometre run over 10 days from Alice Springs to Uluru on the world's longest point-to-point event. In November this year, Jay will be participating in the GPT 100 miler as well, and the solo event. Outside of running, Jay's a full-time shift worker and a proud mum to 3 active kids, which really proves that endurance does come in many forms. So I'm going to throw to you first, Jay. You've got quite a busy schedule and obviously quite a lot of training to fit in for your events. And my understanding is sometimes this means that it kind of pushes you to train in the dark in evenings and early mornings. How do you find that impacts on your training?
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah, I try and train like a full-time athlete with very minimal time. Due to my shift work and being a mum, I often am resorted to training at 4 a.m. in the morning or well after dark at night. So I find if I don't have the confidence, which is happening more lately, or I'm just not feeling the inkling to go outside and run on the trails or run in the streets on my own, I will often have to resort to a stationary bike. I just got a stationary bike for Mother's Day, and that has become my morning daily training session, which means that it takes me away from running, which is the one thing I love.
Thanks, Jay. You're talking about your sort of feeling of safety and not wanting to get out in the dark evenings and things. When do you find that you do feel safest when you're out running?
I feel safest when I'm running with a group, whether I meet up at 6 a.m. at the track to run with a local running group on the weekends, or I really love racing because I find when I'm racing, I can get a long run in around like-minded people who I know it's going to be a safe and enjoyable day out.
Isn't that sad that, how it can... We were talking earlier before this, and I was kind of surprised to hear what an impact it can have on the way that you train, that your schedule might mean that you want to get out for an actual run, but you're hitting the bike inside instead just because of that.
Yeah, it is my only option when I can't get out during daylight hours.
So it's really important to look at this issue from different perspectives as well. Obviously, we've got Emma and Jay here to talk about the way that women feel when getting out for runs. We've got Mark here, which is really valuable to get a bit of an insight into what men might think about when they hit the trails. So can you give us an idea of what you think about when you're prepping for a run or when you're out on the trail, and maybe talk about some of the things that you might do to make others feel safe when you see women or other runners out there?
Yeah, thanks, Kel. I know when we were first discussing this opportunity, I felt really privileged that you asked me to participate on this panel, because the way I see it, it's a man's issue, and I might just take people through the reason and the why I kind of see it like this. Because when I go out running, I don't think about much really. I just let my brain wander. But one of the things I do never think about is getting assaulted. But, you're reading out those stats, 92% of women. It's like for half of runners out there, it's a real factor. And even when we were talking earlier, half an hour ago, about what we were going to discuss on the panel, and you three were all talking about, when you're running, you're planning what you would do if something happened. It's just not something that I need to think about when I'm out there. And that's something that is really important to change. And these conversations is the start of how we can change that. So pretty keen to talk about it. But I guess for me, a few years ago, I was talking to my sister, and she's based in Canberra. She was talking about getting more into running, and it was winter in Canberra and, dark. She's going to work. She's like, I can't go for a run. I'm like, you just buy a head torch and you can go for a run. And she's like, well, I can't. It's not safe. And I'm like, oh, kind of sucks that she doesn't think it's safe to go for a run. And I kind of left it at that. There was no reflection on the role I could play in that. And then it's probably only been more recently, probably even this year, where I've started to have a better reflection on the role I can play and my perception awareness of others. So I know David Pocock made a really great video response to an assault that happened in Canberra earlier in the year. But for me, a real aha moment for me happened only a couple of months ago. And through Gariwerd Trail Running, there's the podcast that we've talked about. And so episode 10 went live yesterday. So encourage everyone to have a listen. But the guest speaker on that, talking about some of the challenges challenges on trail and difficulties you might have had in experiencing trail running here in the Grampians. And this particular story was about menstruation and running on trails. And it was something that I was like, hold on, people are out running multi-day stage race, like 200-mile ultras. And I never actually reflected on half the trail running community will experience this. And I'm like, hold on a minute, I need to have better awareness about what's going on and how others are perceived and feel. And I think, you talked about the man versus bear earlier, Kel. I found it really interesting that there was so much response from a lot of men getting really offended that women would choose the bear over them, and the rationale behind that. I guess it's the lack of awareness that they're not perceived. So for me, it's probably only been the last few months where I'm like, if I see someone on a trail and they don't know me, they don't know anything about me, and perceived as what we've talked about, going through that thing of, okay, if something goes wrong here, what can I do? So it's really about what I can then do to try and make the person being approached on the other side of the trail feel safer. I don't know, like from Emma or Jay, if you're being approached, what are some of the things you'd like to see someone do if you're coming across them on the trail, like a male?
I suppose for me, it's about awareness. So if you're coming up behind me, I can guarantee you're probably going to be running significantly faster than me. So just give me the heads up that you're coming. I generally will have no music or only one earbud in so that I can hear my surroundings and I know what's happening. So I can probably hear you well before you think I can. And those steps coming faster and faster, my heart rate will start to increase and my pace will actually slow to get you past me quicker. So just acknowledging the fact that you're coming, letting you know, yep, I'm here and I'm going to pass on your left. Or, how you going? How's it been? Try and have a little bit of conversation before you go past me.
I've actually been really fortunate not to have too many incidences. Normally it's just a hi, how are you going? Sometimes it's, do you need anything? If I am fatigued, I may have run out of water, I may have run out of food, but then we just pass and keep going. So we're not stopping for a 1 hour chat. It's just a quick hi, how are you going? You're all good? And then we pass ways.
Yeah, they're really small things, aren't they? Like really, really easy, small gestures that can make a big difference. I was talking to Sissy Austin recently, who is the founder of Take Back the Track, and she was running around Ballarat and training at the time that Samantha Murphy was taken. And she noticed a really big tangible difference in the way that male runners were behaving on the trails. Her and a lot of other women were out training for the Ballarat Marathon at the time, and she said it was really hard to put a finger on, but men on the trail were making a positive effort to make women feel safe at that time. So it's all about body language and, looking up and showing your face and giving a little wave.
I think that's right, like just that awareness and this conversation's a really good part, and that sort of active bystander, like that ability to challenge. If you do see stuff happening or you're with a group of friends and you see people acting or having behaviours, just constructively ask, question why, have a think about how that person might feel, trying to keep this conversation going, because I think that importance of being like allies and advocating for these things and keeping the conversation going is really important.
Thanks, Mark. Emma, I know that you're someone who really enjoys actually doing the solo runs and, you enjoy being out there on your own. Kind of want to look at what your mental preparation looks like, before a run, things that you think about during the run that are probably quite different to what Mark's thinking when he rolls out of bed to go and grab a sunrise or something on the peak in the morning.
So those peak sunrises are probably something I don't do a lot. So I do spend a lot of time, like Jay, running in the dark, under head torch, alone, because of time, but also because running is a space where I'm able to process my own thoughts, feelings and emotions. And so when I go for a run, the preparation for that starts at least the night before, making sure that the clothes that I'm wearing are bright enough that people can see me. I have the most fabulous head torch that will blind absolutely anyone who comes close to me. As I said before, I will never run and never have run with 2 earbuds in. I've never run with noise cancelling headphones because I'm absolutely petrified of not being able to hear my surroundings. I, similar again to Jay, will send a picture message to the people that I love as I'm hitting different points on trails. So if I'm having a big day out there, I might not have phone reception, but somewhere along the way, they know that I've passed through another place. There is a guy, and I can't remember his name, who has some Instagram reels, and it's basically that says, if you feel unsafe while you're out here on the trail, play this. and he will talk like he's on the phone to you and will say, yeah, honey, yep, I'm just down the road. Yep. Oh, sorry, I'm late. And I have that on my phone. Like, why do I have that on my phone? Why do I have to have that on my phone? I shouldn't. So again, similar to Jay, like there's some days where you get up and you plan to go for a run and I get to the door and I'm dressed and I'm ready to go and something just doesn't feel right in my gut. So I'll come inside and I'll train inside. And it's something which I never thought was odd or strange, that I've always got a whistle in my pocket until probably we've started having these conversations, until GTR and Her Trails got together for the Take Back the Track Day. And the men on the trail were asking me some of these questions. And I was like, oh, you don't do this? Like, this is an extra head noise that you have when you're running on a trail. And it just wasn't. And that, as it's sort of been an interesting journey for Mark, that's been the interesting journey for me, that you don't have to think this way.
Thanks, Emma. Yeah, those things are just your normal now. But yeah, I do think it's good to reframe that and show that it's really unacceptable that women feel that they need to think about those things or do need to think about those things. So yeah, given that you're a bit of a solo runner, I'm quite interested to know how you came to be a Her Trails maven, kind of running these group runs.
That was odd and by accident. So GTR had just started and I wanted to say yes to things. And so I came to a couple and they were great, but I have children and the time just didn't fit into my lifestyle. And so then Her Trails popped up in the Grampians and I decided to learn a little bit more about it, and it runs safe runs for women. It was a similar time to everything that was happening in Ballarat with Samantha Murphy as well. So I was becoming more and more aware about my safety on the trails, and I just found this really great tribe of women that I could run with once a fortnight across Australia or New Zealand and just have a safe space to be able to share some of these achievements with. And we've also had a few conversations about Strava, and I don't have Strava, but the group chats around the WhatsApp groups kind of became my Strava. I could share my wins and get the kudos that way rather than having to do it publicly.
Yeah, the Strava one is quite interesting, isn't it? Because, yeah, there's plenty of women out there who don't use it, or you can hide your maps, and there's a lot of privacy considerations there. And if you choose not to show your runs, then you're not in it for the crowns and stuff. You don't get to be part of that and nab those sections and stuff on Strava. So there's a few sides to it. I guess there's many, many ways that this can impact different parts of people's lives. Just with the group runs, Em, do you want to just let us know what Her Trails offer locally here?
Awesome. Yes. So Her Trails, it runs once a fortnight for a Sunday sleep-in run. Generally, these guys have probably done quite a few Ks beforehand before we start. So we start at 9:00 every second Sunday. And if anyone's interested, you are more than welcome to go to the Her Trails website and you can log on and join our WhatsApp group. It's also a really great place to be able to connect with other runners. And so if the times don't particularly suit you, you can generally find somebody else around who might want to come for a run with you.
And I've heard recently that we've got our first park run coming to the area.
Yeah, yep. So that's also another really great space for running. And I think, so Her Trails is definitely about people over pace. So we sort of stick together and there's no one getting any crowns or anything on those particular days. But Park Run can be a really great opportunity for anyone to get out there, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a run. It can be a walk. And so it's a 5K, it's an out and back out at Lake Fyne. So it's nice, and the flattest run you will get in the Grampians, which is really nice. So on those days where you want to get a bit of pace up, it can be a really great place to connect and be a part of the local community.
And just on the local group running options, obviously the message we really want to be sending tonight is that we need to do better to make women feel safer when they go out. And if you like running solo, you should absolutely be able to do that and feel completely safe. However, many people don't feel safe, so group run is the way to go, or, just love the social aspect. So you've got the Her Trails options, we've got the park run coming pretty soon. And Mark, can you tell us a bit about the GTR runs that we offer?
Yeah, thanks, Kel. So Gariwerd Trail Running offers regular Friday morning run. Try and make it really accessible. All paces and experiences are welcome. So that's always on a Friday. There's also optional weekend runs that pop up as well. It can be in varying distance. So there's great platforms. Just check the social media, Facebook or Instagram for details. Yeah, really the aim of that's just to provide a really safe, inclusive place for people to come, and it's also social opportunities opportunity plus that ability to run with others. I know locally, Stawell Amateur Athletics Club run a regular run as well, and it's a really great inclusive space. A bit more of a fast effort rather than social connection, but that's a good option too for others.
Can I just, before you keep going, shamelessly plug how amazing the GTR Instagram page is. So for anyone who is not local listening to this, come to Gariwerd, go onto the Instagram page and click through some of the highlights, which will give you the best view of maps and things, because I'm shocking at getting lost all of the time. So I will constantly go back there and be like, well, what sort of run do I feel like today? And click through there. And then I can also share that with the people that I love, and so they know where I'm going. So I've given that to so many people and they've found it really helpful.
Thanks, Em. That's such a good point. It's a really good resource. It's local runners and visitors. We get plenty of people joining us on the Friday run from out of town. They're just here for the weekend, which is really lovely. But, if you're up and you can't make a group run or you'd like to run on your own, you can also just feel free to drop us a message on our Instagram or Facebook if you want any recommendations for trails. We got between the group a fair bit of knowledge there. And yeah, just to reiterate what Mark said, I would say that I was previously a solo runner. I wasn't really that interested in running in a group, but I started doing the Friday runs after worrying for a long time that I wasn't going to be fit enough. And then I learned that trail runners actually walk a lot. So I decided I could do that. Then just met lots of people through there. And now every weekend I'm also doing a run with another mate that I've met, which is really nice. So yeah, thank you. I think that's most of what we were going to talk about, but we're very happy to take any questions.
So just repeat the question as well.
I've been asked to share my crazy 520 kilometre race, which was something that I just wanted to challenge myself with. It was a 10-day multi-staged race, fully self-sufficient. So I had to carry all my food, water, sleeping gear, clothing. The only thing I didn't carry was my tent. So I raced every day for 9 stages. We started, the first 2.5 days was along the Lara Pinta Trail, for anyone that knows that, so a little bit of elevation. And then we equated to about an ultra marathon a day until the last day I did 140 kilometres in the last day. I ran a lot of that on my own. So there was 25 competitors, and because we're at all different abilities and times. A lot of it was also on the freeway, so cars would come flying past. Some of them would honk, which is really nerve-wracking when you've been running on your own on a freeway for hours on end. But I learnt a lot. I learnt that it's mind over matter, and I can walk and I can run, and it's still just progressing forward. We're all moving forward, and I got to the finish line and came 3rd female. So I was happy with that.
Thanks, Jay. That's really amazing. Congratulations on the race. Yeah, I can't imagine, you talked earlier about mentally training for being able to run without listening to something. And I can't imagine I'm either with somebody and chatting away on an easy run walk, or I'm 100% listening to something if I'm on my own. So a lot of respect for that.
Yeah, thank you for that. I learned the power of the mind. And at the end of the day, your mind can help you get to the finish line.
Any other questions? Yep. So the question's around using GPS tracking devices so that friends and family know where you are when you're out on your own. I don't personally use anything, but I am really at the start of my trail journey, and I haven't been doing any long or remote runs. And I don't know, talking to Emma and other women, I think I've been pretty naive about running alone. So I'm kind of learning a lot as well. Yeah, I guess some people take out EPIRBs and things like that. Mark, have you got experience with carrying things like that?
Yeah, I think it's a great point. I don't personally take one, but I probably should. I know a lot of others do, especially if you're running in areas where there is little phone reception. So it's interesting. I had first experience the other day, and I was running with a mate and had the inbuilt emergency function went off in the watch, which alerts if there's been an incident, fall or stop, and it sends an emergency alert to the emergency contacts, so an email and text, both sent. Watch was making some funny noises. Had to confirm that this person was okay after all the alerts would go through. So I thought that was a really good function there. I definitely encourage the use of some of those tools. I know Absolute Outdoors, Adrian, can probably help out locally here in town. If you're looking for those type of products, probably have some in stock over the weekend. Thanks for confirming that, Adrian. So yeah, it is good practice to do that, especially if you're going out for longer solo runs where there won't be reception.
The other Gariwerd maven for hill trails the other day was tracking another female on Strava. So they had shared their GPS location for them, and I'd never seen that before. And it had the different points along the way. And as they dropped out of phone reception, it would tell them how long it's been since the phone reception had gone. But my concern would be around battery life for that. So I would be telling you to go and have a chat to Adrian as well and see what he has to offer.
The Emergency Plus app is a good thing to have on your phone. It'll give you your exact location so that if you can make an emergency phone call, like ring 000, it'll give you all of your location data, exactly what 000 need to know. Yes, another question here.
Yeah, thanks. I'll just repeat, recognising that some of the Garmin watches have functions where you can turn live tracking on, and Coros as well. So a lot of the smart watches now that we use to do that have the safety functions that can be supported as well when you're running remotely.
Jay, did you use anything in particular like that for the Northern Territory run?
We actually weren't tracked during that event. We didn't have any power and we didn't have any GPS. So often we just had to run and hope for the best. Family would only get updated at the end of the night when our results were put live on Facebook. There were times where I was mildly concerned that my family couldn't track me, especially because we had to also navigate. So we were navigating ourselves. So yeah, I think in the future I would probably want to have an EPIRB or something. However, we didn't have any technology to charge anything up for 10 days as well. Or I think I was out for 14 days. That's also something else. I'd have to have some sort of battery or solar panel. But again, that was all weight because I was carrying everything. I wanted to keep my pack down to 10 kilos. These are all learning for the future.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yeah, we had an interesting conversation about this just before we started among ourselves. And I guess for us women, we're thinking about what do we have with us that could be used, which I almost hate saying this, but that's what we're here to talk about. So I recently bought some pretty schmick poles for running, and probably one of my first thoughts was I could use this. And yeah, Emma, you were talking about?
Yeah, so I carry my whistle, but for me, I never run to my full capacity. So quite often, my last 2Ks are the fastest, strongest 2Ks of my entire run, no matter how far I've gone. And that's not because there's food at the end of it. That's because I know where the end is and that there's someone safe for me to get to. And I didn't sort of realize this until I was doing a race once, and I was like, oh, why am I running so fast now? And it is because of that safety concern, because if something happened when I'm out there, whether it be at kilometre 1 or kilometre 30, I will still have some energy in the tank to be able to run away, basically.
This answer to your question, which was what other safety concerns, really highlights this issue, I think, because you both went to, okay, how do we safe from threat of most likely a man is what you're thinking of that you're going to come across in the trail. I just immediately went to, I'll carry some water and I'll have a snake bandage and I'll have, like that. I definitely wasn't thinking safety to it. And, it's exactly the conversation that we're having now. So it's important for the conversation to continue. Yeah.
Do you carry anything in particular, Jay, around personal safety?
Personal safety, I've got my poles, which I always take with me, and a whistle, which is inbuilt in the pack. Someone has asked me before, do I take pepper spray, things like that? I haven't. I'm not sure I will. I've thought about it though. Yeah, I have.
My dad gave me a pretty full-on whistle one year for a gift, and it was a whistle for that purpose. And I can't remember what the decibel range was, but it was ridiculous. And that was a few years ago. And now I'm like, oh, maybe I should put it in my running pack. Yeah, any last questions? Happy to take more. Yes? Thank you. That's a great question. So hopefully I summarise this properly. So the question was, how do we feel safe even on group runs where there's other men involved in the group run? So if you're new to it and you don't know the people, it's definitely something that we've been talking about a lot at Gariwerd Trail Running, and part of what we look at when we join the Core Alliance and being more inclusive and having like the gender balance and things like that. So we do kind of look at our group runs on the Friday and we do record who's coming and the gender, and we kind of assess, is our balance still good? Do we need to be worried about anything? We do want to make sure that people feel comfortable participating in those runs. We do things like we all meet each other, we stand around in a circle, we have a bit of a briefing, we talk about who's got what first aid, where we're going, we try and make sure everyone knows where we'll be, we make sure we have a leader, we have someone at the back, and we just go around and introduce everybody as well. So we have a few things that we do to try and make those group runs feel comfortable and are always looking for more ways to do that.
I actually have an interesting story, which is a little bit controversial, because I had someone come to one of her trails runs after they'd been to one of your runs. And they'd been to your runs on quite a few occasions. And this one particular Friday morning, and it was kind of in the infancy, they turned up and they got there, and I think they said there were 6 men and no women. And they stopped and were like, what do I do? And they had quite an obvious car. And at that time of the morning, there's not that many people around. So they took a deep breath and they knew it was safe. They had actually no concerns that it was going to be unsafe, but just that automatic reaction. So we had some really great conversations on the trails as to how do we make that place safe. And it wasn't about the men. It wasn't about the place. It was just because they knew that the men were going to be faster. And I think there is no answer to that. I know for our runs as well, we have lots of people who actually run past us a few weeks in a row before they feel like they're comfortable to join. And maybe it's about reaching out to that group beforehand so that you have somebody to be able to meet, a name that you know, a face that you can kind of be a part of. And that's why these guys are so great, because they have such a welcoming space that you can reach out and they will respond very quickly so that you can have that buddy. And it might be, can I meet you 15 minutes beforehand so that I feel safer and comfortable?
It's a really good point, but I'll be interested in your story and to answer this question. Of those 6 men that were there, how many of them would have been aware that one female, and then maybe have the chat, oh guys, can we consciously make an effort here to make sure this is a safe and inclusive space here? Like,
I just need to add, they went on the run. They loved the run. They had a great time. But it was just that it took them back initially.
Yes.
That was probably more to the point of the story. It made them actually stop for a second. And I think that's probably maybe where you're coming from as well. It is a scary thing to be, and I'm shocking with people. I remember the first time I went to her trails and they were all women. It's really hard for me to be able to walk up to that group of people as well. So if it was 6 men, I probably would be even more intimidated.
And we're a pretty new group, we're still working a lot of things out. And one of the things that we've spoken about recently is, so we basically have someone who prepares the Friday runs for the month, and that person usually will lead those runs. And we've had a conversation about what if you turn up, because we don't know who's coming, we don't register or anything. What if you turn up to lead it, and if I go to lead it and I'm a female and one man turns up who I don't know for the run, am I expected to lead that run? And we sort of tried to put a bit of a process around that, where you could do it if there was 2 from our group there, or a male and a female from Gariwerd Trail Running could lead it, or you don't run it if there's only 2 people and you don't know them. Yeah, things pop up all the time like that we hadn't really considered at the outset. I would say that hasn't happened yet. Yeah, I think the balance since those early days has been, I think last year it was really good. I think it was nearly 50-50 male-female through last year's runs. And yeah, we can have between 6 and 18 people on a Friday. Yeah, I hope that answered your question. We rambled all over the place, but thank you. Well, we'll wrap it up there then. To close, we've got a couple of really cool videos to show you, so just maybe bear with us while we rearrange some tech. Thank you so much. And thank you to our wonderful panel. Thanks for listening to that great discussion. On the night, we also played 2 short videos for our audience, which were really quite impactful, so we've also included the audio here for you. The first is a personal message we received from Senator David Pocock in support of the panel event. Senator Pocock is an Australian politician and former professional rugby union player, and he's been a strong advocate of this issue. The second is from Sissy Austin, founder of the National Take Back the Track movement, which launched in early 2025, with a vision to increase women and gender diverse runners' sense of safety. Sissy received videos from runners all around the country sharing their love for running and their dreams for a future where we can run wherever we want, whenever we want, in whatever we want. The next National Take Back the Track Day is on the 15th of Feb 2026, and I encourage you to check it out online and find out how you can get involved and participate and support the movement.
Hi everyone, David Pocock here. Hope you're having a great night out there at Halls Gap and have enjoyed the films tonight. Sorry I can't be there with you, but hope it was a great discussion. Running is such a wonderful thing that everyone who wants to should be able to enjoy. And it's on all of us, particularly men, to create a safer environment for runners. Men need to have the strength to call out and challenge inappropriate behaviour and comments so that we can start to change the culture and take more responsibility for being the change that we want to see in the world. I know conversations like the one you're hosting tonight are an important part of driving this change, so thank you for what you're doing, and I'll hopefully see you out on the trails around Canberra soon.
I'm Sissy Austin. I'm a Gunditjmara Kirai Warong Djapurrung woman. A few years ago, I experienced an assault whilst running on Wadawurrung country in the Lau Lau State Forest. I was determined to not let anyone steal from me my love for running, and so that's why I have started Take Back the Track.
I'm joining Take Back the Track for everything that running has given to me in terms of my mental and physical health.
Everyone deserves to go for a run and feel safe.
Wherever they want, whenever they want, in whatever they want.
I would like to be able to run before sunrise and after dark and feel okay about it.
Running should be a joyous occasion. It should not be an occasion where you are fearful for your life.
And that our choice to run never feels compromised.
It's pretty basic, but we're still fighting for that.
I know I'm not alone in my experience, and that too many women and gender diverse runners have a different experience to men whilst running.
The most comfortable and happiest place for me is just going for a run out in the forest, and everybody should have that right.
My wife and my 3 daughters, I would love for them to be able to run without fear and without concern.
Everyone deserves the right to run freely and safely.
For all my sisters and siblings, I'm running so we can take back the track.
Everyone has a right to start and finish their run, so join us on National Take Back the Track Day.
I run to take back.
Take back.
Take back.
Take back
the track.
I run to take back the track.
I support Take Back the Track.
I'm a bit sweaty, I'm a bit humid, it's a bit hot. So, yeah, all right, take back the track.